about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
We are back on Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the media is having a field day with this one. And although I'm not really shocked, I think it's a good idea. No people are going to be mad at me. But the Trump administration may put a black box warning on COVID-19 vaccines to educate people that there could be a risk as it pertains to myocarditis. This black box warning has gotten a stereotype and a stigma with it, but it's nothing new. And we use black medications with black box warnings all the time. Your Xanax and your Valium has a black box warning on it because pregnant people can't use it. So there's a black box warning on those medications if you're pregnant. Accutane, a medication for acne, has a black box warning. SSRIs have black box warnings. There's black box warnings on medications if there's certain groups that could be at risk. So the black box label is one of the strictest safety warnings issued by the FDA. And not only does it alert the healthcare providers, but then patients are also aware. And it alerts them to a serious or life-threatening adverse side effect associated with the product. Now, people are having a cow because they think this is political and anti-COVID-19 vaccines. But the FDA has been prompted to do this after they reviewed reports that 10 children died from the COVID-19 vaccine from vaccine-related myocarditis, inflammation of the heart. We believe that's what stemmed from those cases. Now, before everybody has an absolute cow about the U.S. government doing this, Canada had early on during the COVID vaccine rollout said, hey, men, don't be taking Moderna. We're not going to give Moderna to young men because of the risk of myocarditis. They didn't even give the Moderna brand. They said Pfizer appears to have less of that risk, so we're going to urge that young men take Pfizer, the vaccine. I mean, they actually made recommendations or bans on certain groups of individuals because of that risk. So the FDA putting a black box warning on it is actually long overdue. Now, why some doctors are having a fit over this is whenever somebody said that the vaccine gave them a side effect, the devil's advocate or counter argument was, well, how do you know it wasn't COVID? So, for example, when somebody says, when I get the flu shot, I get the flu. You can't really get the flu from the flu shot. It's a killed version of the virus. Now, the shot might make you feel sick, or if you truly got the flu, it could be you got exposed to the flu, coincidentally, when you were waiting in line to get your shot. But, we don't necessarily think that the flu shot gives you the flu. So when somebody says, I had inflammation of the heart that I believe was linked to the vaccine I got a year or two ago, they could say, but you could have gotten COVID and that could have done the same thing. And so doctors are mixed because we have had study after study show that there is an increased risk of adolescent myocarditis and pericarditis. In fact, it prompted other countries to limit recommendations and steer course. In fact, I think America didn't even mess with the AstraZeneca vaccine because of blood clot risk. And then the Johnson & Johnson vaccine had some rare blood clot risk. And so many companies didn't give the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The Johnson & Johnson AstraZeneca vaccine used DNA. Used a virus vector to bring it in. It was a brilliantly made vaccine. It's just, unfortunately, there was a higher risk of blood clots. You don't know that until you go through clinical trial testing like stage 3 clinical trial, where it's used in a wider population, but there was no time for long, longitudinal studies, and there wasn't any time for that. And sadly, there was a girl in Henderson who ended up getting a severe blood clot to the brain after her Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Now, yes, COVID can cause strokes and clots to the brain as well. But you have these many parents saying, "Look, my kid had this after the shot. You got to listen." So, Trump's top health officials, including Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, oversees the FDA, has expressed concern over the safety and efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines, include vulnerabilities to myocarditis, other heart conditions, pregnancy complications. There's been studies looking at women's periods. And there was some concern early on about miscarriage risk, but because COVID could also cause miscarriage, a lot of OBs still suggested using the vaccine. Many OBs said not to. So even OBs were mixed on this. But Dr. McCary and Bhattacharya, had stood alongside Robert F. Kennedy back in May when he said, "Look, we're not going to widespread recommend these to healthy children and healthy pregnant women. If you're at risk, you'll have access to them. And if your doctor wants you to get the vaccine, you could get it. We're still distributing vaccines. They're out there for people. They can have access to them. But we're just not going to have the recommendation that everybody healthy as a kid, all healthy kids and all healthy pregnant women need to get it," which I agree with. I mean, we need more data. I'm very grateful we had the vaccine. I do believe the vaccine saved lives. But does it have to go to everybody? Do we really know enough about it? We were in an emergency situation. It was rolled out effectively. It was rolled out, but it was mandated improperly. And the mandate, sadly, and I warned, and I said this on air, don't do this, because once you do that, parents are going to lose faith in all vaccines. People are going to think there's a secondary gain between Biden and the pharmaceutical companies. They're not going to trust it. When that doctor died of ITP, where he lost his platelets and then he had a brain bleed, and the wife said he still would have advocated for people getting their shot. Meanwhile, her husband's dead. The shot saved lives, but the shot was linked to some, horrific tragedies. So now that COVID isn't as much of a scare as it was in 2021, maybe we can now reevaluate. 1-877-DOC.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
all for tuning in. 1-877 Docadali, 1-877 Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. Big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I am rethinking the whole selfie thing and being in pictures with people, because I got to tell you, everybody and their mother appears to be in a picture with Jeffrey Epstein, the most disgusting creature on the planet, one of the most disgusting creatures on the planet, who's died, by a suicide. Although, yeah, and I tell you, you kind of wonder if any pictures you have been with, is that something you want later haunting you later in life? Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released another batch of photographs obtained from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, including some never-before-seen images of Epstein with very famous people: Richard Branson, Woody Allen, Bill Gates, Steve Bannon, former President Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. In fact, Bill Clinton autographed a picture of them all standing together. And so Representative Robert Garcia, the ranking Democrat on the Oversight Committee, says these disturbing photos raise even more questions about Epstein and his relationships with some of the most powerful men in the world. He says, "We will not rest until the American people get the truth. The Department of Justice must release all the files now." I am very confused by the whole Epstein file issue, because Biden had them for years. So if they're why didn't they get released day one? And why aren't they released now? Pam Bondi said she was going to release them. Is it because they think the media is going to look at this and say, "Oh wow, Jeffrey Epstein had a party and all these people were at this party, and now all these people are going to be named"? Is it that there's liability? So now can Richard Branson sue the U.S. government now that media articles are talking about Richard Branson and Jeffrey Epstein, when Richard Branson might have had absolutely nothing to do with the criminal aspect of and the sex trafficking and the underage sex slaves and all the other stuff that Jeffrey Epstein allegedly did? Is it that there could be lawsuits that media will now jump on something that? But I don't think the government will get sued if this is in the Epstein file case. It's in the Epstein file case. There was a Daily Mail showed this very disturbing photo where on Epstein's desk, it looks like there's an incapacitated young female on a couch. And I don't know why this would be an image on his desk. And they protect the identity of the girl. They have a black box looking at that. But the guy was sick, but was his 24/7 persona all about that? And did individuals who went to dinner with him, did business with him, hobnobbed with him, were they all involved with that island and with what Gazelle and him were running? And it's the speculation obviously is just going to continue. And when you have somebody like that who hobnobs with everybody in Manhattan, everybody and their mother who ran into him and met him and could have gotten photographed, could now possibly be investigated and linked. I'm not, I don't have, shall we say, a background in how to run a government agency, but I've managed some things in my time. And what I would do is anybody that appeared to be associated with them, get some testimony, just get some interview them, find out what you can, because we want to make sure all the victims are helped and all the, and any other information that they give, even if they weren't a part of it, might be able to help open up some other avenues at the end, because the investigation is still ongoing. But then to assume that everybody that photographed with him, was involved in the disgusting, felonious, heinous behavior, that's taken a jump. Now people say, well, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton had an affair with Monica Lewinsky. Well, Monica Lewinsky was of age and consented. And I know there was some talk of, he was in a position of power, and if the president asked you to do something with a cigar, you do it. There was some of that talk, but it appeared it was consensual, especially with what she told her friend Linda Tripp and all that other stuff that happened in the 90s. So, just because Bill Clinton had a healthy sexual appetite, does it mean he took advantage of this situation? I mean, same thing with Trump. Trump liked women, but it appeared he was with Melania right after his marriage with Tiffany's mom. I forget her name. And so I forget all those. I know there was Ivana Trump, and then there was Marla Maples, maybe. Yeah, I have really kept up on all that. And so, I mean, he was with Melania. He didn't necessarily need to whet any more appetite. He was with somebody. He was, it was a new relationship, etc. But who knows? People ask, do I personally think he was involved? I don't. I think Trump has always, been aware of the public eye on him and accusations and things like that could come up, that I think somebody like him was careful, and I don't think he would have. That's just my opinion. And he has, beautiful women on his side, and he gets into these relationships. He marries. This is his third wife. I really don't think I just don't. That's just not the vibe I'm getting. I'm not getting the vibe from Richard Branson. I'm not getting that vibe. But unfortunately, men have always been, accused of and considered guilty until proven innocent. And that's really a shame because, I've been around men most of my life, and most of my friends are guys. And yeah, some of them are real horn dogs. And yes, they like sex. They look at women and rape them and fantasize about. I mean, that's what. And women, we're no saints either. If there's a firefighter, I imagine them shirtless. It's not, that doesn't take 2 seconds for me to, think of anything else. They're obviously, we have sexual appetites, and it is something that men and women will do. That's how we are designed. We're animals, and we are designed to be attracted. But to take it a step, in that direction where it doesn't feel right, where these people are young, where they, they're unfortunately, you have individuals who have gone that far. They have raped, they've abused, they've trafficked. And there's a very sick population of pedophiles and people looking at child porn, but that doesn't represent the average man. Yet men all get lumped in to that. Just like these women sleeping with their students. They're these cougars. So they think that the average older woman is a cougar. I could never look at a younger boy. Maybe it's the mommy in me. I'm like, no. I like older men. I could not look at. In fact, it was funny at my bachelorette party. My friends got me a stripper. And yeah, he was good looking, but I didn't want him to dance on me. He had too much baby oil. It was just, I was like, look, you're handsome, but I think it's ridiculous because it's not like, I'm going to sleep with you. I'm getting married. I love my husband. You don't really have to do this. And then we found out that he was 2 years younger than us. Oh, well, he's a baby. He's 2 years younger than us. So we basically sat there talking to him about, he's going to school. And yeah, I mean, I was 26 when I got married. So my bachelorette party, it was fun. And then, we hit the strip and, they made me dress up with a bunch of, phallic symbols on me and, a sash. And everybody was, offering one last night with me. And I'm like, no, thank you. Trust me, you don't want that. But once I found out that the stripper was 2 years younger, it was a turnoff for me. I don't know why. But there's that stereotype that older women like younger men. And so they're all cougars. Sadly, disgusting people ruined it for the rest of us. The first woman who claimed she was raped when she wasn't ruined it now for any one of us that has ever been assaulted because people won't believe us now. So as we look further into what happened with Epstein, I am sure that there were many more individuals that participated on Epstein's Island and participated with this disgusting sex ring. And we do need to know who those people are, and justice should be served. But we do need to be careful that anybody he takes a picture with, and therefore anybody you take a picture with, be careful, because though that comes out, and who knows, 20, 30, 40 years later, are they going to do something disgusting and now you're accused? So maybe rethink the picture thing. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good times.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. He's not going to have a good Christmas as this fired Michigan coach, Sharon Moore. Boy, he's not having a good Christmas. Wow, he's now been charged with home invasion, stalking, as well as breaking and entering. This is ahead of his arraignment Friday in Washington County, Michigan. If convicted on all counts, Daily Mail is saying that Coach Moore is facing up to more than 6 years in jail and $3,500 in fines. Now, statement from prosecutor Victoria Burton Harris did not contain the name of his alleged victim, but a 911 call was made from a home belonging to his executive assistant, Paige Shiver. Earlier Wednesday, the married father of 3 was fired for what the school described as an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. The staff member has not been identified publicly, although I thought I've seen some pictures already online. And so internet sleuths began pointing to Shiver online, and then a 911 call made from her apartment surfaced. This added to the mushrooming scandal, and according to police dispatch audio contained by Daily Mail, then unidentified 911 caller claimed Moore assaulted her on Wednesday, adding that he had a knife and had been stalking her for months. The dispatcher was later heard saying that the suspect was described by his wife as suicidal after losing his job before. He was taken into police custody at a church parking lot in a neighboring town 2 hours later. Wow. Now, she has not been officially identified as a 911 caller or the victim, but Wolverine staffer, or the staffer with whom Moore was allegedly to have been involved with. But I guess she has been, an executive assistant. She's the daughter of Bears scout Jeff Shiver. And the Bears drafted one of Moore's players in the first round of 2025 draft, tight end Colston Loveland. And the elder Shiver has also appeared at Michigan games with his daughter. And Paige is even profiled on the Bears website in 2016. Anyway, so, she had written, I get a lot of pain throughout my body. When I am in pain, I am really in pain, and there is nothing that can be done, and hope and pray that it'll go away. This disease has had such an impact on my life. She suffers from Pompe disease. It's a rare disorder that impacts heart and skeletal muscles. So I don't know really what the relationship is, and I'm not really, but this Michigan coach, unfortunately, there's... from what we understand, he's a father of 3, 39 years old, was taken into police custody. The Michigan Athletic Department spokesperson declined to comment when Daily Mail asked about these reports. But I believe this is the school's 3rd investigation of Moore over his alleged conduct with women. Now, I think he replaced Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is now with the Chargers. And then Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh hired Moore at the school in 2018. Harbaugh ended up leading the Wolverines to the national title 2023, and then he went to the Chargers. And then Moore ends up taking over his job. Now, 39-year-old Moore is the sixth Harbaugh hire who is now in trouble, who has been, I guess, Harbaugh's hired some people that has ended up getting into trouble. Wolverines, I think, offensive coordinator Matt Weiss was accused by federal prosecutors of stealing private, intimate images of student athletes. Remember that? And ultimately charged with hacking. He pled not guilty to all 24 charges, is now facing multiple class action lawsuits. There were some other Wolverine coaches that allegedly drove drunk. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know how much. I think Moore is getting, what, $5.5 million? And then this season, it's going to be about, or it would have been about $6 million with all the extra incentives. You think you hit, the jackpot in the lottery or something like that. Don't mess up. But I've seen this, even in jobs that I've had, where somebody gets a promotion or somebody gets, shall we say, a lottery ticket, and a winning lottery ticket. And rather than them going to church or temple or their mosque and thanking the Lord, rather than them saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to do good, they almost feel immortal, or they feel they just where they could do anything. And they might get narcissistic. They might feel like, okay, well, now they're sexier. And I don't understand that. See, I would go the opposite. I'd be like, I could lose this at any time. This could be gone at any time. And unfortunately, and again, it's all alleged. He might not have had a relationship. He's innocent until proven guilty. But man, we'll keep you posted as this story unfolds. But I got to tell you, it's crushing, because these high school or these college coaches, they are just they lead these teams. I look at how these kids, look at their coaches, and they respect them. They listen to them. These coaches are steering not only a team to wins, but also, I mean, money that comes into the universe. There's a lot of power. It's interesting. I don't want to name names, but Bishop Gorman High School had an issue with, one of their coaches. One of their coaches was absolutely amazing. And then there was another coach that took over, and he was just a bear. He was mean. He was rude. There was some sex scandals. And I'm like, you get this position, which is a highly coveted position, to be the Bishop Gorman head coach. You don't mess it up. Come on. You hold on to that with dear life, and you do the best job you can. And I don't know if it's the personality. I don't know if it's the power surge and the power trip. But, seeing somebody get an opportunity and blow it. Like the girl in Snow White. I forget her. Rachel Ziegler is her name. You're talented. She's a talented girl. But she gets to be Snow White. She gets to be in a position, and a long coveted role. And instead, with her anti-Israel sentiment and anti-Disney sentiment and whatever, and you look, how many other people would have wanted that role? And I'm not saying keep your mouth shut if there's, if you don't like what Disney's doing, if but to say you really hate the story. And you don't like the story, and you don't like how Snow White has to kiss a prince. I mean, that's the story. That's somebody else could have very easily wanted that job. Then apparently people on the set are pretty upset because they put a lot of work and money into it, and the movie bombed. It wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't bad. It just people didn't like her. Hamas had just attacked Israel. Killed 1,200 people, beheaded babies, and we didn't hear any sympathy, except it was, and her sentiment was just shocking, and so I mean, freedom of speech, you're allowed to say what you want, but boy, did it turn people's appetite sour as it pertained to that movie. So my recommendation for any of you that get to be a coveted CEO, don't go to a Coldplay concert with your side chick. And I mean, just, be, be loyal, be a good person. I mean, don't you have an opportunity that people would love to have and have been working their whole lives to have. When I hear radio hosts completely disregard, the rules of ethics and you're like, look, you know how lucky you are to be able to have a radio platform and to have people listen to you? Earn it. And then when you do earn it, deserve it and show that you deserve to still be there. But, people don't care. And if you're going to start, sleeping around it's a shame. And I understand these coaches. You kind of wonder what their mental health is like because they're always screaming and yelling and cussing, and I worry about their hearts. And I'm like, boy, you really got mad at that ref. I really hope somebody's checking your heart out. And so I can understand the stress, and you could lose your job. I mean, people lose their jobs even after a winning season. I get it is not an easy industry, but that's what happens when you're looking at multi-million-dollar deals. And it's, if somebody's going to pay you that kind of money, you got to deserve it. But not only do you have to deserve it by, with your work ethic, it's also just your basic ethics. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Dahlia. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I guess a relationship expert is blaming Oprah Winfrey for this cutoff culture and families being estranged from each other. In fact, I guess a Cornell University study has found that a third of Americans have at least one family member that they are estranged from. And I don't blame Oprah. We've talked about this, and this is interesting because I had been raised where you have to stay close to everybody. You have family that will be mean or I don't know, a little screwy, whatever. But it's your job as family to always be there. And so I went through my whole life being, as close as I could to people in my extended family. And I noticed that some of my other family members didn't. I'm like, why don't you talk to so and so? And I go, because they would say because they hurt me, because they're toxic, because they're no, I don't want to talk to them. And I would look at them as, well, they weren't doing it right. You have to stay in touch. You have to keep all the relationships open. You have to. And I went through an epiphany this last year. And it's something that I've been going through that I've told you guys about, where I decided temporarily, and I told a few family members, I'm just kind of, taking a break from the drama of the family. And I got to tell you, I've never been happier. I've never slept better. I'm just doing better. And then I feel guilty because I'm like, I always kept in touch with these people. But they're so toxic. And they're always, oh my gosh. And it's like, it's never a positive relationship. And I never expected. I understand that there are family members where it'll never be positive. You'll never have a win. It'll always be you're there for them. You're there for them. You're there for them. And I felt like once I started to see the way I was starting to internalize. So like even my family was like, Mom, you look miserable. Are you okay? And I'm like, I am okay. And then I think back why my kids are really perceptive. And I'm like, what just happened? Why was I got a text or a call from, and it would put me in, I wasn't going to be depressed or anxious, but it would stress me out. And I decided, just as an experiment, guys, I'm just going to take a break. Just no drama. You could go to the other family members. There's other people besides me. Just give me a flipping break. I said it nicer than that. Oh, I mean, the text came more calls, more yelling, more whatever. But I got to tell you, I'm right now in the calm. And I don't want to be enemies with any family members, but I have family members, multiple ones, that hurt me, that have no problem wanting to hurt my kids, that have been very, very open about, some of the plans that they, want to do. And that could involve hurting my family. Why didn't I tell these people off years ago? Because I thought as a family member, you have to, through thick or thin, be there to support them. No, not when you're getting hurt, not when you're getting screwed over, not when you're getting peed on. No, I have every right to protect me and my family. And I don't want to get too personal with this, but looks like one of those 1/3 of Americans that now has an estrangement issue, which I didn't before. I would always try to reach out, and I would, people, family members was like, I'm sorry, I haven't talked to you in a while. Like, look, I'm always here for you. I'm always here for you. But I've changed my mind with that. And there's a few family members where I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to be hurt anymore. And I didn't realize how therapeutic that was. I feel guilty, but I think there are some family members that they don't deserve you. Well, apparently, Oprah Winfrey has been under some criticism because there's, I guess, a health expert saying that Oprah Winfrey shined a light on family estrangement, and that she had no, I don't, I don't think she pushed it. I don't really watch her show, and I haven't been, but I'm a fan of hers. But Oprah Winfrey said a Cornell University study now shows that almost 1/3 of Americans are actively estranged from a family member. This is on one of her podcasts. And she said the trend is a silent epidemic and could be especially relevant during the holidays. But relationship coach Tanya Kazal focuses on fighting cutoff culture, took to social media to criticize her as if the estrangement crisis appeared out of thin air. According to Fox News, Canada-based Kazal says now Oprah is shocked by the aftermath of estrangement after being one of the biggest voices and pushing it for decades. He said that Winfrey's messaging started in the 90s and has contributed to a cultural shift where walking away became the first resort and not the last. She said, according to the relationship coach, millennials, some of whom grew up watching Oprah, are the leading demographic cutting off family members. And even if it wasn't intentional, the effect has been absolutely harmful. So the coach, I don't agree with that. We blame Oprah about this, but I understand Oprah had a lot of influence. But the coach is not wrong. I see a lot of people where they're like, oh, I don't need you. This whole family unit thing doesn't matter. Well, I think it does. I think family does matter, and you need to be able to rely on your family. And if a family member needs help, you want to help them. But I also believe that if you have somebody who has intentionally tried to hurt you multiple times, you got to protect yourself. I mean, if there's an adult who's abusing their child, you got to get that child away from the adult. If there's an adult who loves their child and the child's going through something, you want to make sure the parents, are involved. But if the parent is a threat to that child, if a mental health threat, physical threat, we do want to evaluate the situation. And so, if you are not talking to a certain family member, why? Now, if it's about politics, no. I disagree with estrangement because of politics. When you heard, was it Ocasio-Cortez or somebody saying, don't invite them over for Thanksgiving, if they voted for Trump? Come on, man, really? I mean, you're going to let politics divide your family. No, blood is thicker than a paper ballot, a mail-in ballot. Who cares who voted for whom? You guys are family. Obviously, everybody has different political preferences. People have different food preferences. They have different religion preferences. I mean, you know how many religions are represented at my now Thanksgiving table? I love it. It's exciting. And so it's good to have that diversity. But if you have individuals that are so toxic that they're texting you or calling you or berating you, so I had one family member when my father died. I had found out about it, and I had to be the one to tell the family because nobody else, took that on. I had to be the one to pay for the funeral, move the body, because, I have the type of family where it's like, we'll just let Dolly take care of it. So I spoke to one family member, and I had to get off the phone because I had to contact other family members, and I had to, start moving the body to Vegas so I could bury him and start setting all this up with no money to do it with. And that family member starts yelling at me. Don't you dare hang up on me. Don't you dare. I was like, oh, God, I do not need this. And it wasn't the first time this person yelled at me. And I was like, really? Really? I don't even need to flip and talk to you. I go to hell. And but I didn't. I understood, well, this person might be in mourning. I understand they got some bad news. Don't be yelling at me. All right? I have a very low threshold for BS and toxicity right now because I got to pull this whole thing together. And that person didn't even come to the funeral. They didn't even come to the funeral. So I am tired of individuals in my life who are drains and parasites and toxic. And so if you do choose to be estranged from some people because of that, all the power to you. But if you're doing it because, I don't like who they voted for, you might want to rethink that because having good family members is gold. And you need that. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA1. That's 800-JBS-USA1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA1 today.